Okay, hello and welcome, Konnichiwa, to our episode 3 of the Top 4 podcast. Myself, Brendy. I said Konnichiwa because I'm Rocky and the Japanese footy top tonight. Hold tight, all the Japanese listeners. And yeah, we're gonna get straight into it. The usual crew. We got Nathan. How you doing, Nathan?
Yep. All good, man. How are
We
you?
got Jack with his brand new mic, taking shit serious.
Yo, we're going up in the world.
And we got Pash, who decided to actually wear a football shirt today, which is lovely.
Yeah, repping the Man U. Not top of the league anymore, but it's still cool.
Yeah, interesting time to decide to start wearing that top, but that's all good.
I've already ordered my Sheffield top. I have. Sounds weird.
True United, up the blades.
Sheffield United got a nice
had some
kit.
bad luck. Oh, it's lovely. That pink one was disgusting that they wore yesterday, but I don't care what colour kit they wear.
Damn,
They beat them and it shuts those two fuckers up anyway.
Yeah, it did.
So yeah, the last few weeks, the last couple of episodes, we've been trying to show people that we know quite a bit about football. That hasn't really gone to plan. From Nathan Ake references to Mesut Ozil, whether he's gone or not, we've let ourselves down. So to further let ourselves down and make everyone aware that we don't know anything about football, we decided to do a top 10 this week, looking at the best Premier League strikers since the first season. So this is not a current topic, but something that everyone can have an opinion on. And so a few days ago, I asked for a top 10 from all the presenters. And they had plenty of time. So before the excuses come out later on, they all had 2 or 3 days to send me their lists. And then I've worked out an average top 10 by a simple equation of first gets 10 points, 10th gets 1 point. You know the rest. So yeah, I mean, I think we might as well just jump straight in, and we can talk about every position.
I'm already nervous. I've done some absolute clangers, but
if I'm honest, for the most part, I was very surprisingly happy with what was submitted. I thought there was going to be some
number one.
I thought there was going to be some clangers, but there are a couple which I've already noted down, and I'm looking forward to getting into. So,
bro, if they're in your mind, then you're already wrong because my top 10 is the best, apart from the one I forgot to take out.
Already with the
it's not the best then.
The top 10 Premier League strikers ever, according to the Top 4 podcast. So in at number 10, the top 10 Premier League strikers ever, according to the Top 4 podcast. So you know it's right. Number 10, former Manchester United, Newcastle, Portsmouth, Birmingham. He played for a ton of clubs. He goes by the name of Andrew Cole. Interesting selection for the 10th one. And I say that based on the varied positions. So who wants to go first? Whether you think, who agrees with that, with him being in this? Who's really against that?
I think, first of all, we should set some ground rules on exactly what makes them a top striker as well. Because he's got some unbelievable stats behind him. But first of all, just to set the ground rules, what's the criteria that you guys were going on for these strikers?
Okay, that's a good point. So
there's obviously goals, which is, I think, the main factor.
Titles as well, obviously, come into a factor. I gotta be honest, I didn't have Andy Cole in my top 10, guys. And I know you're Man United fans, there's nothing against Andy Cole, a great striker. He didn't make the cut for me.
So, no, me. He wasn't in my top 10 either, as a United fan, which he was very close to being in, along with Dwight York, like Ant and Dec. You know, they went hand in hand brilliantly. But for me, though, in terms of picking my top 10, it also went down to the impact they had on the club, because some of mine weren't in it for as long as others, and just raw talent, how fun it was to watch them, what they brought to the table, and usually when they left a massive hole in the squad that they were in. So yeah, going off that, he's an honourable mention for me, and I love him as a player and as a United fan. But I think there are other players, again, with United, another team that had a bigger impact, I think. But I'm not totally against it. He's an honourable mention.
He was my number 4 in mine.
Really?
He was my number 4. He's got 5 Premier League titles and 187 goals. That's mad. And I thought I needed to drop him a little bit, because when you think of Andy Cole, you think of like the link up with York, and that was like one of the best strike partnerships probably Prem's ever seen.
Yeah, absolutely.
But 5 titles, 187 goals. Yeah. he played through a number of. I think his best goal tally might have been for Newcastle, like towards the start of his career. You know, he scored 34 goals for Newcastle in 93 to 94. I think that was the most he racked up in one season, which is
I think
not many of.
So
I'm
he
assuming
scored.
that's his one golden boot that he's got, right? He must have had the golden boot that season.
Yeah, the golden boot once. He's had the golden boot once, yeah.
Yeah.
So he scored 55 goals in 70 games for Newcastle. He scored 93 and 195 for Man United. And he scored 27 in 83 for Blackburn. And then, you know, towards the end of his career, played for Fulham, Manchester City, Portsmouth, Birmingham, Sunderland, Burnley, Nottingham Forest. So a lot of good clubs. And always scored goals even when he was getting to the end of his career. He wasn't in my top 10 either. He probably wasn't close to being in it, if I'm honest, for me. I mean, I thought about him, but he wasn't one of the people that I was in and out about, just based on the fact that I don't know he was a great player, but maybe because what probably didn't help was that the time I actually remember him playing, when I first started getting to football, he was playing at like Fulham and Blackburn and Birmingham. So for me, maybe because he wasn't like a player that I've only ever seen on Premiership years. He was a player that I saw at the end of his career. So maybe that's why I wasn't that fussed and thought about. But I have no disagreement for being in the top 10.
I think even though I know his Premier League was a part of it, he was part of the treble-winning team as well. I think he does go under the radar in like all-time strikers. I don't think the personality's not really not there as big as some of the other. He's not as Hollywood as some of the other strikers, is he? But you can't argue with the numbers. But yeah, I think we're all around the same age, and I think it's sort of similar. Yeah, you've seen him towards the end of his career. I mean, I'm not going to lie. When I was like 7, I wasn't watching, you know, all the Man United football games. I didn't even think my TV got any of the games anyway, to be honest. Match of the day every now and then, sort of thing.
So look,
I think that's why it's hard for people our age in terms of from when the Premier League started, because it is, you know, against our will that, you know, the first maybe 10 years of the Premier League, we don't know that much about it apart from what we've researched and seen before. Because like you said, we weren't sat down every week watching it, analysing and taking in maybe like we do now. So obviously,
I'm betting on it.
It's not going to be this. Yeah, exactly. Losing
Sky Sports Premier League. When that comes on, Premier League years at like 2 a.m. and you flick it on and then you're watching it for about 4 hours. Just some of the top goals. That's probably where we've seen most of the footage of these players from the 90s.
And even like Match of the Day when they do flashbacks and throwbacks and stuff. It was only then really that I was seeing, you know, what kind of players were around back then. But yeah, even from his legacy, because I didn't watch much of him as a kid. I know obviously he was a baller, and like I said, it's an honourable mention for me for sure.
Obviously, Pasha touched on it. He was your fourth choice, out of 10. So I feel like we're high, man. I feel like we're going to come back.
Very high.
I think we're going to.
I did say I was thinking. I think I put him a little bit too high, and I was like, am I basing it more off just the actual partnership with him and York? But then I looked at the numbers: 5 titles, 187 goals in 414 games. I'm reading there, so that's almost a goal every 2 games, almost. You know, you can't really argue against that. So you know, he probably does deserve to be around. Well, he's in the top 10, but yeah, I think he should be around about the 5th or 6th, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, if we're all very happy, I'm happy to move on to number 9 in the list. Again, I mean, this is an interesting one. So number 9, we've got former Arsenal and Manchester United striker
RVP
Robin van Persie.
What a player!
So I'm gonna go first here. Normally I try and give you guys going first. Fuck that. I'm saying it now. There's no way he should be in the top 10 strikers.
So. No way.
Okay.
No chance.
He had maybe 3 good seasons, and 3, I think I am going high with 3. He probably had 2 good seasons. He was always injured, which, as if you follow us on TikTok, you will know that Jack thinks injuries affect how good you are and whether you should be at a top club. He was injured for most of his career. He probably had one or two good seasons at Arsenal. He had one good season at United. He's got probably one of the best goals I've ever seen while I was watching live on TV. That header for Holland, but he's not top 10 Premier League. So I'm ready. Jack and Pash. I only got the list up, but come on.
It was Spain.
I think his goals and that speak for himself. The record's pretty good, but just watching him, I think he's got the best left foot I've seen in the Premier League.
Yeah,
he is absolute wand, and when he hit it was so clean. It just the ball looked like it'd carry on going, no backlift.
So, so what did you base your top 10 on? Because I thought you said. What was the reason?
I did it on goals.
I didn't hear you say it was. I didn't hear you say that you based it on left foots. That's all.
Well, if I am basing on left foots, he's definitely coming into it. Well, he's got 144 goals in 280 games. That's a better sort of goal to conversion than Andy Cole.
It's almost the same amount of goals in half the games.
He's
almost.
So is he better than Andy Cole?
Yeah.
Pash.
Well, it looks like that's what he said.
Mr. I put Andy Cole forward.
You must have put him above him because how the fuck did he get into the top 10?
I think he's.
No.
I think he's.
He didn't.
I put him a fifth.
Oh,
that's the
I thought you did put him.
We're going to get to you.
I put him as ninth, so I'm bang on correct. So I don't know what you guys are chatting about. I put him as ninth. 2 golden boot winners. I think I'm more connected because obviously he come into that season. I can't believe he left Arsenal to come to United. Love it. Arsenal fans still hate him.
It wouldn't happen now, would it?
And he absolutely did bits. That goal, that volley from the Rooney assist is one of the purest volleys I've ever seen. And he had that in his locker every time he played.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. He is unbelievable. Well, Ted said he's going to come to me next anyway, but I'm also going off like I mentioned, raw talent in terms of the skill that he brought, and I'm pretty sure he put fear in the opposition. Imagine being in defence and coming up against Robin van Persie. You would absolutely shit yourself. I would anyway.
He wasn't even fast, was he? He wasn't even fast. He just half a yard bangs it.
No, he's just lanky, man. But like he's like a Giroud these days, where like he is a proper striker, and if you give him a chance, chances are he's going to take it. And that's what I think a lot of strikers these days are missing.
So
that's why I'm excited. I'm excited because I know it's early doors, but Mason Greenwood reminds me a little bit of RBP, just the way he hits them.
Yeah, I can see that.
Just hits him so
the left foot.
And Mason Greenwood's only won one less title than Robin van Persie. So what I have an issue with is at Arsenal, did they win anything with Van Persie?
They did not.
That was like when they went maybe 8 years without winning anything. And he's this, and you're trying to tell me he's this guy. I think
I don't think that's on him. That's on the rest of the team. He scored 30 goals one season for in the Prem for Arsenal.
I don't think that team as a player.
I think that after he scored that's the season before he came to United. He obviously thought, you know what, I want to win something. That's why he come to United. He gets in a winning team, wins the Prem. You know, if he come earlier,
to join his rivals to win a Prem.
I definitely
Steve Gerrard even said to him.
I think there's some Man United bias going on here just because of the one title win. I think I don't have to get his stats up. I know that he was injured for so long. Like he wasn't. Could he have the potential to have been in the top 10? Absolutely. But I think if gone.
I put him number 9. He's number 9 on average. So bang on.
I'm more questioning Jack's 5th. He's out of all the strikers in the Premier League. I could name you 5. I could name you 5 better Man United Premier League strikers. Just Man United. Never mind the top 10. Like I could, without even thinking, I could name you 5 that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally get what you mean. Maybe I did place him a little bit high, but at the time, in his prime, I can't.
Jack, save your chest. Jack, save your chest.
Yeah. He's done. The chest is gone.
He's 4.
The chest is gone.
Okay.
Look,
so
if you don't think he's a baller, that's absolutely fine. But he is 5th for me, and I stand by it.
Great on FIFA, but yeah,
the Premier League was a better place with him in it. Let's put it that way.
Sure. For
I
the whole
disagree.
2 seasons that he was fit. Okay, well, I mean, let's move on to number 8. So we've had 2 Man United strikers. Could be a theme going on here. Number 8, and I'm glad this guy got in. I think he's a lot. He only got in. He only just got in. I think he's a bit low, but we'll say. So Arsenal legend Ian Wright is number 8.
Ooh.
A player
Easy,
that, again,
Ian
like we
Wright,
said before,
right.
we wouldn't have seen play Premiership years. Would be the research, but the main striker at Arsenal before Henry, he was obviously their top goal scorer before Henry. In a lot of success they would have had in the 90s, he would have been their main go-to as a striker. I keep saying before Henry, but yeah, before Henry.
I read, and I wasn't aware of this. I read, I think it was today, that he became a professional footballer at 22. Crystal Palace.
It was
signed him at
late.
22.
It was late. It was really late.
That's crazy.
It's wild, isn't it?
Like
That is mad.
did he join? I think he joined Arsenal in '91, so the dawning of the Premier League. Obviously, it was with Arsenal. They won their first title in 1998, and that was his last season. So to put him, I had him as 7th. To be honest, I think he grafted for years and years on end with Arsenal because Arsenal didn't have the best of the 90s, and I think he was there to start the lift off of what Arsenal became in the early 2000s, 100%, and at the end of the late 90s when they started winning a lot more titles. When Arsene Wenger joined, of course.
There's something about Ian Wright. He's a fan favorite even by rivals, and he's like
Obviously, the punditry helps that as well.
Yeah. And he's just his personality, football-wise. To be fair, I'd be lying if I said I've watched him loads. I've seen a lot of old footage, like a lot of these 90s strikers. But I'm just looking at the numbers now; they're pretty crazy. They turn around 213 games, 113 goals.
So is anyone against him? Is anyone against him being in the top 10?
I didn't put in mine. But then again, he doesn't play for United, so do you know what I mean?
I tried being as unbiased as possible.
United legend. I was going to swap him out for someone else, but I'm glad he got in.
Yeah,
I wouldn't argue
against him going in.
No, I wouldn't argue against him.
I think
the next United legend is.
But I'm going to wait and see if he pops up.
Yeah, I mean, as we're all in agreement that Pash should have had him on his list, and we'll move on.
100%.
I think it shows how well the three of us rate Ian Wright, considering in our top 10s, considering he still made it 8th without Pash even voting for him.
Yeah,
he was in my honourable mention, to be fair. But, yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm sure. I'll let him know. I'm sure he'll be.
I sure appreciate that.
Okay, so number 7. And okay, so number 7 in the top 4 podcast, top 10 Premier League strikers, we've got
here we go.
Mr. Eric Cantona.
That is the United legend that I was going to swap Ian Wright up for.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. He's so high, but yet Jack didn't put him in.
No, I didn't put him in originally.
Put him in.
This is
to clarify. No, sorry, Pash. I'm sure you got a good point, but just to clarify, Robin van Persie is a better Premier League striker than Eric Cantona. Jack.
Wow.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, let's lead into that.
I think right. Cantona is one of those. I mean, he hasn't scored that many goals. He's 70 goals. But I think, do you know, when we're marking him on criteria, goals, just, what you see in like the silkiness of the player, the impact, I think no player has had a bigger impact on a team than Cantona. I think before he came in, United didn't win a league. I hadn't won a league for 25 years.
Yeah.
Cantona come in and he was the pioneer of all of that. He was sort of the player that all like the class of 99 all sort of looked up to, and he's just got some box office Prem moments. I mean, the karate kick.
Oh,
Right,
it
to a
is
fan, yeah.
fantastic.
Even
Yeah,
just
he
the
does it-
collar popped up. Do I mean that's an iconic look that he's
Yeah, the chip goal with the collar against Sunderland. But yeah, the karate kick is enough to even get you in the top 10. Someone's chopping.
shit footballer, but he kicked the fan in the head.
Yeah,
So that's class.
class.
Get him
Can't
in.
kick a football, kick a fucking
And he
fan.
and he came from Leeds. That's always good as well to take it
Yeah.
from Leeds.
Have you his numbers pretty decent as well for the amount of games that he did? 156 games and 70 goals. Goal average 0.45 per game. And you're looking at 4 titles as well from that. So again, massive influence in Man United getting into the winning ways, obviously in the Fergie era. And yeah, ruining.
I think he started the
ruining most of my
trajectory.
childhood dreams for quite a while.
When you think of the Premier League, you think of Cantona.
Yeah. It was the start of misery for a while.
I would have based my top 10 off goals and personality. That was the 2 words that I would have described mine, and definitely I think Cantona's got to be in there. He even did that Soccer Aid a few years ago, and the presenter asked him a really weird question. Was like, "Oh, whatever fan speaks to you, like says anything to you today?" He's like, "I'll sort them out," or something like that. He's like,
Bad man.
He's
Bad
like,
man.
He's like, would you do something? And he's like, well, yes, maybe. Like he's an odd bloke. Like that's.
Did you see when he
bloke,
was at
that
the
speech
FIFA
he
Awards?
did.
The
speech at the
speech.
FIFA
Oh, very
Awards
weird.
is the most mental 3-minute video. But even like Ronaldo and Messi are in the crowd, and they're just
Awkward.
like,
Yeah.
"What the hell is this guy talking about? Like, what's going on?"
And there's when the seagulls.
That when we become machines or something like that, and I just finished. I love football.
I remember when
I
I was battered during uni. And I just thought it'd be funny. I got home at like 4 a.m. and I put that as my Facebook status. Like, I copy and paste.
No likes. No likes. Your girlfriend's blocked you.
I just got a message from my dad like the morning before, like, "What the fuck you doing?"
Everything all right.
Yeah, everything okay, son?
So who did everyone have Cantona in their top 10?
Yeah, I had him as number 5 actually.
Jack
I
didn't.
had him as number 5 as well.
I should have.
I had him at 10.
Jack's got the type of face where he's like, I've fucked this. I've fucked this. Where did you have him, James?
I had him at 10th.
10th.
Based on the fact that it's weird. It's weird. I don't think Cantona would play as a striker if he was a nowadays player, you know?
No.
Which is probably why I just wanted like the proper. He is a striker, but I wanted to like the proper out and out, right at the top end of the pitch. And I feel like
my thinking came from as well. He's not like an out and out striker. He's obviously he did play up front back then, but I just don't think of him as a striker. When I think of Eric Cantona, I don't think of a number 9.
he'd be on the wing, or he'd be in the middle, centre midfield, attacking midfield, wouldn't he? Now, if he was a player,
you do sort of think of him a bit more like a Bergkamp sort of role, don't you? Where forward, but does sort of do the link-in play as well. But I think his performance was class, but his personality really elevates him into sort of like box office Prem great of all time.
Yeah, that's fair. Like I said, I definitely don't disagree with him being there for sure.
Just one more yours.
Okay, we'll move on then. I think we're all pretty happy with this. No one seems to be unhappy with any of the positions so far, which is good. But come on, let's get into it. But now I think we're going to get into it now because soon people are going to start realizing who they've selected that haven't even made the top 10 in general. So number 6 is our first player that is still playing, currently in the Premier League. He plays for Tottenham, of course. It's Mr. Harry Kane, number 6 in our current, in our all-time top 10 Premier League strikers.
That's crazy.
I
I wouldn't
think
put him up
that's
that high. Yeah, I had him as number 10.
That's really high. Who's put him up? Because I put him in at number 10 because I think he's got potential
That's why I had it down
to
as
make it as one of the best Premier League strikers.
Okay,
I'm trying to work out where I put him.
So
his current record.
Pasha had him
I put him
as
7th.
7th. I had him.
You had him as number 1, didn't you? Of course you fucking did.
Bro, you brown-nosed Joe
Ted's
Mourinho.
had his England top on and his Spurs top on at the same time.
I haven't even said where I put him.
Number 1, obviously.
I put him 4th.
That's pretty high.
I
Out of the top
honestly
10 legends.
I think if you look, he's been doing it now for more seasons than Van Persie could ever dream of. He's done it for a team that isn't even the top team in the league.
Yeah.
He's phenomenal.
0 league titles.
He's now playing further back, but still scoring and setting up so many goals. I think he's one of those players that he will be proper appreciated when he retires.
He's got the best.
I haven't got anything besides.
No, but I think he'll be 1 when he retires. So I'm putting him 4 now.
You think he's going to be number 1?
I
think if he's going to be number 1, he has to win the title. I think. And
I think that will happen because I think if Spurs don't win the league, I say best in the Premier League. Sorry, I could see him moving to like Real. So whether he becomes the top in the Premier League, it depends how long he stays in the Premier League. But
I can see him. I just imagine his numbers if he was playing for City. It'd be insane.
Crazy. Well, his numbers are pretty good as it is.
They're class. He's got the best goal to game ratio ever in the Prem. And that's saying something. I think he will beat Alan Shearer's if he stays in the Prem. If he obviously goes La Liga, then he will. If he finishes, he's a type. He looks like the type of body type, the type of player who could play to like 34 at quite a high level, 33 at quite a high level. I think he could easily beat Alan Shearer's numbers. I agree. I think if they don't win a title with Jose, I think United might come in for him, or City could come in for him. I think they're the only 2 clubs that he might go to. But yeah, he does go under the radar a bit as well. He feels a bit vanilla. He's got a lisp. He's got no edge to him, is he? He's
so dry as a person.
He's so dry, but he's so good.
To all our listeners who may have speech impediments, there's nothing wrong with having it. Pasha Pravsky does not speak for the whole podcast when he says the reason why people don't rate him is because he has a lisp. Just want to put that out there. Carry on with your valid point.
I think people might not rate him because he has a lisp. Put it out there. No, but you know what I mean. He keeps his game quite basic. He doesn't do any like fancy skills. So people think of him quite vanilla, but everything he does he does all the basics like 10 out of 10. He can score both feet. He's wicked in the air. His hold up play. That's what a lot of strikers these days don't have, the hold up play. And he's probably got
everything. I think he has
he's
everything.
so accurate as well.
He is
Tez. I think there's a little bit of Spurs bias happening here.
But I'm not even a Spurs fan.
Mate.
Like I'm a Mourinho fan.
Hold on. The first top 4 podcast episode will say differently.
But I'm not a Spurs fan. Do you know what I mean? I don't own a Spurs top yet or anything. So
yeah. You say yeah.
But everything.
As soon as they win the title, straight in the back.
You know, look, like you said, if he was playing at Man City, how many goals would he have if he was in Man City? How many goals would he have scored if he was in that Liverpool team? I know Firmino was a big part of that, but do you know what I mean? And he's playing for Tottenham, and they've had they've had a couple of good years, and Pochettino did amazing and all that. But like, do you know what I mean? He's banging these goals in for the team that isn't even like.
He's halfway through his. He's 27. 26,
and his game is not based on pace. He's going to be around for probably another.
He is
7-8
striker,
seasons.
He is a striker. Like he is.
Boys, I think if he was at United, you boys, I think he's made for a team like United. Like I always thought he would go United. I don't know if it's a bit late now for him to go to United.
I think he's the type of player United would have bought under Fergie. They would have just snapped him up and be like, whatever you're paying, have it. He is sort of like an Alan Shearer build, isn't he?
But he's not as good as Martial, though. Let's be real. Let's be real, boys. For a second, let's be real.
Martial, greatest French striker.
No, I think he is. He's. I put him 10th because I think he will eventually get there. But I think that's a bit high for him at the moment. He's like I said, he's still got a lot of work to do, and he's still.
If you think he's high,
I agree.
Wait till we get through this. If you think he's high.
Really?
Christ.
Yeah.
Well, quick facts then for him is 166 games, 115 goals, 0.69 per game ratio.
He's got the best ratio.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's debatable because I've got another person in here with the exact same one. So it depends if they come into the top 10. Though they may not.
That's like now. That's not with like. It's not with like Derby County playing in the league or fucking. All these like before when they had like teams who weren't as good. This is like the elite.
But before we move on, right? and I know I bring this up before. I bring this up quite often when Nate's on about Salah. Today's defense is nowhere near as good as it was back then. So I think that if Kane was playing around these other players were around, I don't think he'd be as good as he is today.
I don't think that's true at all.
I personally don't think so.
It's hard to tell. It's one of those where it's like, would Pele be as good in this day and age? Do you know what I mean? Or it's just hard to tell.
I know that's a whole different conversation itself, and it is like, oh, what if? But that's just my logic behind it, because the Premier League was a very different place back then. It was a lot rougher. Like
when you had like Vinnie Jones and stuff snapping people in defence, do you know what I mean? Like it's in that sense,
yeah. Roy Keane headbutting you every left, right, and centre. Yeah. So it's a very different. But that's just a point that I wanted to say, and why I think that he's got the stats that he has.
Could you see that on the flip
he's
side?
probably one of the best strikers in the world, but I think compared to the other players that we're talking about, I don't think he's there yet.
On the flip side of that, though, could you say that defenders back then very much physical defenders? Like more defenders these days got to rely on a lot more skill to make sure that they're not getting fucking sent off.
But that's just the game, though. That's just the game changer.
You're saying that I think it's different. I don't think you could say that defenders these days are worse than what they would have been back in the day. Like I think
maybe that's not the
skill base is better.
I think I'm saying the nature of the game sways it in the favor of goals being scored.
I agree, but I also feel like there's not as many out and out strikers in the game now. The game has evolved, and yet
because it's so fluid,
he's still do you know what I mean? Like he is still there, playing as the striker and being the main guy. And I think, like I said, I think if he's at United, he definitely would have made both of yours top 10. So that's a different thing. But I think
he's my number 7.
Sorry, I think he'd been higher. Sorry, but I think I was going to get my Kane top out in a minute. But in 5 or 6 years, I don't think there's any doubt that we're all probably agreeing that he's top 5. But we can do this again in 5 years when we've got millions of listeners. Okay, so we talked about Harry Kane. Next up, number 5 in our top 10 Premier League strikers ever. We have got Didier Drogba.
Ooh, good show.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
I definitely had him in my top 10. I can't remember where. I'm just checking now.
I had him as number 6, I did.
I had him at 6 as well.
Yeah. Currently the only African with 100 goals in the Premier League.
I had him as 8th.
I had him as 7th. And I did feel like he could be higher. He's one more where...
No, you had him 8th.
I had him 8th. He was a force to be reckoned with, wasn't he? You'd hate to play against him. He literally had everything, and he was a big game player as well. Huge.
Yeah.
How many seasons did he actually play in the Prem? Was it that many?
7, 8.
I think 254 games, so 38 games a season.
I reckon he played a massive part in getting Chelsea their first title in I don't know how long.
And the second one as well.
Well, he had 4 in total. Do you mean that's pretty fucking good going, if I'm honest. I think that's definitely deserved 5th place. I think that's
he's just a scary good striker, and he like just all around absolute baller. Like unbelievable player, unbelievable.
Massive
contributor
towards the success of Chelsea. Chelsea's best striker ever. Hands down? Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, no, Werner.
Oh, Werner, yeah. Oh, fuck, Werner, how could I forget?
Yeah, what about Tammy?
Tammy.
No, yeah, he's definitely up there.
104 goals, 254 games, yeah. I just remember him scoring big goals. Obviously, the Champions League, I know this is Prem, but I remember a lot of Champions League big goals. I think he scored against most of the top 6 as well when he was playing. Jose Mourinho said something about he's seen him at a club ages, way before he was at Chelsea. And he was just like, one day, I can't afford it right now, but one day I'm going to sign you. And that was before, like, no one even knew Drogba was. And then his first season at Chelsea, Mourinho told the board he wanted to sign him, and they were all like, no, you're crazy for trying to sign him. And absolutely smashed it, to be fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's an all-round yes, isn't
Yeah,
it?
I mean, I feel
Yeah,
like we could talk
no
about it more, but
arguments.
we all agree. I mean, think about strikers that any defense would hate to play against. 100% would be him.
Yeah.
No days off whatsoever.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I mean, if we all agree, and we'll move on. So, big up Didier Drogba, number 5. So, the top 4 in the top 4 podcast, top 10 Premier League strikers.
Interesting now.
Yes, this is the nitty gritty. So, in full space, we have someone who's still playing, Sergio Aguero.
Yeah, I had him bang on 4th.
Yeah, I had him bang on 4th
Great
as well.
player. I'd kill for him to have played in Liverpool. Anyway, take my arm off. Amazing striker. Really good. Again, like when you're talking that Harry Kane got like the highest goals per game ratio. Sergio Aguero's on par. 219 games with 151 goals. Possibly have changed now. But 2 titles as well. Massive again. Probably
And a golden
broad.
boot.
Golden boot,
I think he's now on 268 games, 180 goals. He's another one. He's had quite a lot of injuries. He's had quite a lot of injuries as well. But he's another one where I just remember every time we play against him, it's just like if he's out injured, you're like so thankful.
Yeah.
And again, he's another one embedded in the Premier League history. The Aguero goal, Martin Tyler.
I was going to say, I hate to say it, but that is one of the best
Aguero.
Premier League moments ever.
Yeah, against QPR, and that was such a weird time. Was it 2011 to 12?
Yeah.
2011 to 12 season, right? And that was is that the first league title in like 50 years or something for City? Something
and
crazy
Nick
like that.
pretty much like last kick of the game, really, wasn't it?
Yeah. Last kick of the season.
Because we had one hand on the title, didn't we? Because we won our game. We kicked off at the same time, didn't we? So then everyone was just checking it, and then when that goal went in, I was just like,
and Balotelli assist him as well. Yeah, but that's going to be in the Premier League history for years. Everyone's going to remember that for years to come. Do you know what I mean? It's been a bit of a strange time at the moment. He hasn't got one goal at the moment. Obviously,
he's been injured for quite a lot of this season, hasn't he, so far? So he hasn't really had much of an opportunity. But again, if he can, he should bounce back. He had injuries and he's just always come back class. Well, his form doesn't drop.
There's talk he might go in the summer, and that'll be a bit of a anticlimactic ending. To be fair, I know City might win the league, but if he doesn't play hardly any games, he'd probably pop up and score a couple of worldies. Let's be honest, but. Yeah, they bought him from Atletico, did they? Aguero?
Yeah, Atletico Madrid, I actually have an interesting Aguero story. I saw Bolton Wanderers play Atletico in the UEFA Cup in 2008. A young Sergio Aguero linked with all the top clubs played, and he got sent off for spitting at the linesman.
Did he?
Sergio Aguero's first ever appearance on English soil. He got sent off. Spitting at the linesman.
Wow.
Classic. That's why you want to come back here and do it more often.
Yeah.
And then he went on to be a legend.
Yeah.
Did he touch a lineswoman not long ago and had shit for that?
Oh, yeah.
COVID. He was touching a woman. The whole habits doesn't change. Loves lineswomen, lines people.
Isn't he's married to, right? He's married to, I think, Diego Maradona's.
I think he used to be. I think they've got divorced, but I know where you're going.
Well, basically, he's got a kid who's is Aguero's son. Diego Maradona was his granddad, and the kid's godfather is Lionel Messi. If that kid's not absolute world of football, then he is absolutely fucked it. Let's be honest.
If I was United, I'd whip him up straight away. Like, come on, son, get over here. Come on.
A lot of potential, Phil.
180 goals, 268 games. That's mad. He's a goal machine, isn't he?
The last two have been in my exact position where I put him in, so I wholeheartedly agree.
I actually had him lowest. I had him 7th, which might be, in hindsight, a little low. I think I based it off the fact that I used to really, really like him, but I think the injuries maybe frustrated me with him. So maybe I almost feel like not holding him back. Like, how good could he? How big could he have been if he didn't get injured? I feel like maybe he hasn't done as much as he could, but not to his own fault.
He's
I'm also not
he's
sure. I know he scored that goal for. Maybe I'm just chatting rubbish, but I know he scored that goal for City last minute against QPR. But when City have been going through transitions, I don't know if he's not been someone that City. I don't know if he's been a player that City can rely on, even though he scored all those goals. Like in big games, I don't know if
I think he has been.
I think so. I totally agree. I totally disagree with that.
There was talk about Pep getting rid of him when he first came in, and then he. What you about to say, sir?
No.
I just cut you off completely.
No, I just thought Nath was going to say something, but he just said, "I just totally disagree with you," and then just went.
Yeah, and that was it.
I didn't have anything to follow up.
Yeah, fuck you, Tez.
Yeah, basically. Thank you, Jack. Jack agrees.
No. Sorry, Pash, what are you saying?
I was to say Pep was going to get rid of him when he first came in, wasn't he? But I think Guerrero did change his game a bit. But I think with Pep coming in, it's just ramped his goals up, and he's just absolutely. I get what you mean. In some of the big games, he hasn't showed up too much, but then he'll just stick like 5 goals into like Newcastle the next weekend or something.
I just feel like in that City team in the last 5 years, I don't know, they've had so many great players. He is a great top striker and he deserves to be in the top 10, but I feel like people I almost feel like he's maybe he's underappreciated. Maybe that's the problem, because when you think of the Man City team now and you name the top 3, top 4 players, I don't know if we're all saying Aguero. Now we're talking about strikers, we probably do, but do we all think De Bruyne, or you think David Silva before he went?
Well, yeah, I was going to say before that period, when you think of Man City, I always thought of David Silva and Sergio Aguero. It was them two. So I think that partnership and that periods from 2011 when they won the title to 2014, 2015, I think he did enough to cement what he meant and what he brought to the club. Like unbelievable player. Like back then, I would have killed to have had him at United. Like watching him was, again, he just made the games fun to watch, and that's big in a player.
All right, I think that's a good point to end on. We all agree he should be top 10, and I don't disagree that he should be 4th. So number 3, we're getting closer to the finale.
I think we can guess these 3 now.
We know 3. Yeah, we know 100%.
All right. Quick round, no waffle. Just guess who we think 3rd is. Jack.
Shearer.
Pasha.
I think 3rd Henry.
Nave.
What? Rooney.
Oh.
Well, you've all said a different one, which has just ruined the rest of the names in the pod who's in the top 10. But
I need to know who it is, though.
I think we could all guess the 3. Everyone says something different.
Number 3, we have got Wayne Rooney.
Yeah, that's right. I had a 3rd. Lovely.
Yeah. Jack's just done a hell of a look down the camera when that got said. So, at Man United, obviously. So he's got the Man. I mean, I had him 3rd as well. 2 of us had him 2nd, and then another person had him 3rd, which I think we know. So, I mean, someone who maybe underappreciated during the whole during his career. Now he's retired. I think people do appreciate him, or at least since he moved out of the league, people have maybe started. I think
be underappreciated in the whole, and I think it comes again to he's just an ugly bloke, isn't he? He's such an ugly British man. If he looked like Ronaldo, bro, no,
that's why he's underappreciated, bro. If you've got a Lexpo, you're making you're fucked.
No, I swear to God, if he looked like Ronaldo, stunning. People rate him so high. I guarantee you, because he's balding, shagging grannies, and he's a fucking scouse. People just underrate him massively.
You've taken the mick out of Rooney's looks. You had to go at Kane's list. I'm looking at your top 10 now, and I'm like, how high would these guys be if they were good looking guys?
Maybe number 1 and fucking 2.
Exactly. Like the way you're going at it for nothing to do with football.
Who's got the biggest cock?
I'm being deadly serious. I'm not joking about now. I'm being deadly serious because he's just like, because he's just an ugly little geezer. He's not appreciated nowhere near as much. He's got 5 Premier League titles. He's the top Man United goal scorer of all time. I know England doesn't really come into it, but he's the top England goal scorer of all time. the goals he scored are just
The Everton debut he had.
the goals he scored are just absolutely ridiculous. The volley he did, I think it was against Newcastle. That volley where the Newcastle defender headers it out, and he just meets it and slams it top there.
Bro, the City
Pings
overhead
the fuck
kick.
out that ball.
The City overhead kick.
Probably the best
my
Premier League
That's
favourite.
the one. That's the one for me.
That's the one. That is one of my favourite United goals ever. And the celebration, the run to the corner flag, like that
But
is
even
legendary.
like even like even if they weren't the best goals, when Phil Bardsley knocked him out, and then the next day he goes and scores and he does the boxing celebration. Do you know what I mean? He's got that. You know what I mean? He's got that attitude. He's like he doesn't. And that was the reason why some people loved him. It's one of my earliest football memories is when he came on the scene with Euro 2004, and then United bought him, and he came and scored a hat trick against Fenerbahce. Sorry, Pash, on his debut. So, like, you know what I mean? He's like,
you had that one up your sleeve all night.
I just thought of it now, mate. I'm just freestyling. But yeah, I mean, I just think. Do you know what it is? It's like when Ronaldo, Messi. All these ballers, Ronaldinho, doing the Nike adverts. Ours was Rooney, and I think because of that, because he was like our English guy, I think maybe people wanted more from him because they thought because he's doing these things and he is like our guy, he should be at their level, and I don't think he was at their level, but he was just below.
I think also. He got overplayed, man. Fergie absolutely battered him. He used to play him through injuries. He played a stupid amount of football, and because the decline was it basically fell off a cliff when he should have carried on at a higher level in his sort of late 20s, early 30s, because he just fell off a cliff. I think, especially younger generation, a lot of people remember him for what he was like the last couple of seasons of United in a poor United team when he was playing deep. And he just wasn't as good. But that Wayne Rooney 08, 09
goat.
Oh mate,
skinhead Rooney.
Yeah, when he picked his head and it was screaming at refs, them the fuck off and that. I'm like, Rooney, you're gonna get booked out. Didn't care. Just like he's on the yellow and he's like, you fuck it.
I was going to say that the thing I love about Rooney is that he was obviously around Roy Keane and but he was one of the last players for me in the Premier League to actually just have that I don't give a shit attitude. I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm going for those balls. I'm winning that ball. He'll 2 feet people and not give a shit, though. I mean, like, he's one of the last ones for me, and I love that attitude, especially when it comes to the old United team like that. He was one of the last ones, and he learned from, obviously, maybe like the class of 94 and had that mentality. And I don't think we've seen it since in the United squad. And he even took that to the World Cups with England and stuff, but he just couldn't give a shit, man. He just wanted to win.
I love the footage of like the drop ball, and skinhead Rooney's just absolutely kicking lumps out of like the player, and then screaming at the ref for giving a foul when he's just booted the bloke twice in the crotch. Like, class.
Yeah, I put him at number 2. I did.
Wazza.
Legend. I might be a little bit biased, but absolute legend. What a player.
Yeah. Granny shagging motherfucking genius. Class. Yeah. Love it.
Yeah. I think we all agreed he's class. We'll move on before Pash takes the neck out of his weight or how he looks or something.
It'd be horrible.
Well, these all done like 3 times.
Yeah, exactly. He'll just bring it up again.
You want to hope that he doesn't listen to this podcast, mate. He's going to fucking smash you up.
He can shag my nana, so him.
You're gonna have clean. You're gonna have clean Rooney being like, I've done an investigation and I found out who the bloke is that's been chatting about my husband on the podcast, and it's Pasha Pravsky.
He's gonna turn up at my door.
Okay, so top 2 now. Maybe a bit of a hint before, maybe who's going to feature in this top 2. This is it. So basically, rather than say who's second, I'm going to say who's first, because it's a bit of an anticlimax if I say who's second and then say who's first. So I'll say who's first, and then we can talk about who came second first, if that makes sense.
There's been loads of Liverpool players in this, by the way, Nate. Loads.
Just to have a mention, Michael Owen was on my top 10 list, to be fair. But again,
I haven't even named the top 2 yet.
Yeah, go on. Sorry.
Sorry.
We might as well tell everyone who's first and second, and then we can talk about on.
Go on.
Okay, so first, the best ever Premier League striker, ever, according to us 4 knowledgeable lads, is Thierry Henry and Alan Shearer
Oh, it's joint.
on a joint for points.
Fair play.
Come joint first, which I personally have no argument with.
No.
Because it was a flip of a coin, but it was very tough for me to split both of them. But yeah, I think I'll start off. Alan Shearer, old-fashioned striker, maybe not the most skillful, or maybe not seen as the most skillful, but he banged in so many goals for a team that wasn't the top team. And then Henry, who for me is probably, I think, in talking about best players ever in the Premier League, not even strikers, he's and impacts in games and just moments. We talk about moments with Rooney. Rooney had so many, but Henry arguably maybe had double the amount. There's so many moments that Henry had. So yeah, two amazing strikers. I know I had him as my top two. Some people had some of these players in their third place. So I'd be interested to see what we're all thinking.
I had Shearer as number one.
Same.
Just the pure goals. I don't think anyone's going to touch that record for a while. I think Harry Kane could if he stays in the league and he's right in injury. But Shearer, especially playing for Blackburn. I know Blackburn won the title, but it was a bit of a once in a lifetime sort of season, wasn't it? I think Shearer, like you said, playing for the lesser teams like Newcastle most of his career, and he's just bagging absolute mad goals. Henry, you can't really argue with it because Henry's the silkiest player on the eye, isn't he? Like when you watch footage of Henry or what you used to watch him, he was just, like you'd enjoy watching football. And he used to play for a rival, and I never hated him because he was that good and that enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
I mean, I obviously put Shearer as 3, but that was just a toss up between him and Rooney. I couldn't not put Thierry Henry as my number 1, to be honest, because I think, Henry played 258 games and 175 goals. If he played the same amount as Shearer, I think he would have battered Shearer's records. I think.
Probably.
I just think that he's the most gifted, he's the most naturally talented, he's the best to watch, biggest impact. And I know Shearer had obviously dragged Blackburn to that title in the 90s, which is a feat in itself. But just the stats Henry had and the presence he had around him, the character that he had. 4 golden boots, 2 player of the seasons, 2 league titles, 4 player of the months. I mean, you just can't. I just don't think you can beat him as a Premier League striker. Like, go on.
So sorry, but you think you're saying Henry should be first? You think he's a level above?
I'm not 100% against the fact that they're even, because I respect it, but I think Henry should be first because
I agree. I had Henry's first, so I agree. I'm just, I think it's interesting.
Yeah, he was second for me. Yeah, it was tight, man. Do you mean the reason I put Alan Shearer as number 1 is he is the highest goal scorer. He's got that record in the Prem. Like I said, with Blackburn, dragged him through to get a Premier League title. It's a bit of a shame that he couldn't do it with Newcastle. He come close quite a few times, but again, one person can't fucking drag a team all the way through. But still, his goals have everything to show for it. With Alan Shearer, he did, 260 goals in 441 games, 64 assists as well. So that's maths. 324 goal contributions there, 441 games. So that's
a lot.
That's pretty. It's decent, man. But to be fair, when you look at the ratio, Henry has got a better ratio because Henry, like I said, 175 goals in the 258 games, but he had 74 fucking assists as well, man. That's nearly a goal contribution per every game. Like I said, it was tight for me. Those 2 incredible players. The reason Alan Shearer, like I said, edged it for me is just the fact that he is the all-time goal scorer. So it just gives that a little bit of an edge. But again, if Thierry Henry had stayed in the Prem, or
I don't know if you can say that though,
or joined the Prem even earlier.
Maybe. I don't know if you can say. I understand when you say, if Thierry Henry was played as many games, he'd be, and you may be right, more goals, but he didn't at the end of the day, and it's the Prem all time. So I think I'm with Nate for that. I reckon Alan Shearer should be quite comfortably top, but I wouldn't doubt that Thierry Henry is probably the most gifted player out of the 10.
Yeah, that's fair. It does depend on which way you look at it.
I'd probably say that actually. Yeah, if he was the most gifted, 100%, I'd have Henry as my number one. If I was a top 10 of most gifted, he was fucking
I mean, if
unbelievable
I was
player.
if I had the chance to field my all-time Premier League team, Thierry Henry's going up top, without a doubt.
And he used to play a lot from the left as well, didn't he? He used to come in off the left, so he wasn't always sort of dead centre whereas like Alan Shearer was. So to be fair, to get that many goals from that, but again, he was playing for a lot better side than Blackburn
That's the thing.
and Newcastle. Like he played in Invincibles. He was playing with Bergkamp. Do you know what I mean? And
that season.
Well, that's a good thing because I was going to say before we wrap up, I included Bergkamp in mine.
Mine was in my top 10.
As we're sort of, we're in a good position where we all sort of agreed. The top, just to say before we move on to the honourable mentions, like it was bang on joint top, no matter on points. 2 people had Shearer first, 1 second, 1 third. 2 people had Henry first, 1 second, 1 third. So literally nothing. I was trying to think of a way to split them, but there was literally no other way. So definitely,
I think that's a fair result, though.
Definitely,
I think it is.
Moving on, before we wrap up, it's always good to maybe look at the whole list, or maybe not the whole. Yeah, well, the whole list. Basically, there was 15 players selected out of the whole. So out of 4 top 10s to have only 15 players, it shows we were all sort of thinking along the same lines. So yeah, I mean, I'll go down from 11th. 11th with 6 points, so they were only 1 point off being joint 10th with Andrew Cole. Was 2 of them, Ruud van Nistelrooy and Jamie Vardy were 11th.
Interesting.
I put Van Nistelrooy in, right? And after our discussion, I realised I placed him way too high. But that was my United bias. I put him at 7th because I just thought, like, in this day and age, bro, Van Nistelrooy would do bits. He'd be worth about 200 million, absolute baller, unbelievable striker, but it probably is a bit high, to be fair, because he was only with us for a couple of seasons.
I mean, obviously, your positioning of him has made him as high as he was, essentially. But he was also selected. I was also the only other person to select him. I just remember him being part of that just before Rooney. I know they had like a season or 2 together, but then like just before as well. Like I know when he missed the penalty against Arsenal, it's not good to talk about him missing a penalty, but he was just like he was like the guy there, wasn't he?
He played in a tough time where Arsenal was the club at that time. So he played in just after like United, and that was just won the treble and that, and then just before like the Ronaldo Rooney phase. So he played in like not the best era for United, to be fair, but best sort of goal poacher box, like 6-yard box striker, like sort of around, wasn't he? Yeah,
definitely. What are our thoughts on Jamie Vardy?
You got to respect, don't you? You just got to respect that he come from. What did he come from? Like League 2 or something, all the way up, or like
he's like Ian Wright, isn't he? He's a modern, almost similar to Ian Wright.
It's a good like footballing story, isn't it? From where he's come from, it basically come from nothing.
Yeah,
and look at him now, mate. He's considered one of the best strikers in the Premier League, even at he's 32 as well. And he's still
won a league. He actually dragged the team, like not dragged by himself, but like he was talked about Shearer not quite doing it, but he actually. I'm not saying Vardy's better than Shearer. Disclaimer,
he's in the honourable mentions for sure.
He's fearless as well, Vardy.
I'm the only
Vardy looks like he's always up for a fight against like any team. He doesn't look phased by any of the big teams, like even back then when they were fighting for the title.
I am actually the only one who had Vardy in my top 10, which I had him 5th.
What?
Really? That's high. That's really high.
Yeah,
that's high.
I think he's just class. I don't look at when I saw everyone's. I made sure I didn't look at anyone's, and then when I selected and realized that none of you had picked him in any, I was like, have I missed something here? But I just think the fact that that league title win for a team that like Leicester, he's been doing it ever since, like every season basically. I still think he's going to be around for a couple more seasons. I think 5th might be a little maybe too high, but I think when it all comes down, said and done, he would be considered top 10 Premier League striker of all time.
Nice.
But he is.
I got his age wrong. Sorry, bud. 34 years. I got it completely wrong. But he's done 114 goals in 229 games. And he didn't really come into the Prem till, like, was it 2014? He came into the Prem.
Yeah, I remember when he upset United. I think we were winning by 2 goals or something like that against Leicester, and then they ended up winning like 5-3 or something. And I was like, "Who's this Jamie Vardy?" He had a dodgy haircut where it was like half a mohawk, like down there. And I was like, "Who is this guy?" I thought he was like a 1-season wonder, but he's just been class ever since, really.
We'll move on to the next one. Selected by a number of people, I think. I know Dennis Bergkamp was also picked by a couple of people. I didn't pick him.
I didn't pick him. I just didn't see him as a striker. I'm more of a number 10.
I did check in the group chat whether I should put him in or not, but yeah, I put him in.
I put him in based on he didn't start his career out as like a bit of a forward player with Arsenal. He was moved into it, and then he had a massive impact when he moved into it. So that's why he got into mine. 3 titles, known for some unreal goals as well. Absolute magic in the box.
Yeah, he's up there with like Henry, with just silky, like some of the most talented footballers that's ever played in the Prem. You could just tell with the touch and the little set plays and that.
Absolute sauce.
I'll just quickly go through the last couple. We've got selected by one person. This one, fairly high. He knows who he is because he's got a massive grin on his face. Michael Owen was in the reckoning. Nath, go on. Eighth in your list.
Again, he's the only Liverpool player who really made it for me. Bit of a knife in the heart, obviously, when he ended up going to Man United eventually. But when you look at a player like Michael Owen in his early career, if he wasn't plagued by injuries and things like that, he could have been much higher on this list. I think if he stayed with Liverpool rather than going over to like Real Madrid, again, he could have done a lot more for that club and be regarded as an absolute legend. He would have been a legend if he then got to Man United, but a lot of Liverpool fans do disregard him now because of that. But again, he won a Ballon d'Or at 21.
Yeah,
unreal.
Pre-Madrid, Owen was class.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's that's why I wanted to mention. He has won a Premier League title, obviously. With
Leave it there, is it?
Yeah,
Pre-Madrid class. That's all. Then afterwards.
That's all I'll say. Yeah, he had a really shit spell at Newcastle. Obviously, Alan Shearer probably still doesn't like him.
I don't know what it is with Michael. Just his punditry is just.
Oh, it's awful.
It's just tainted like how I see him.
Yeah.
Like you watch footage of him when he's younger, and he's just like. Almost some of the runs he goes on is a bit like Messi with like a low center of gravity, like dribbling in and out, and then perfect, like a slow finish or like a chip over. But then you listen to his punditry and you're just like, fuck off.
One of my favourite lines, I have to remind myself of one of my favourite lines he ever said. I remember hearing it. He said, "It's a good run, but it's a poor run as well, if you know what I mean."
I know exactly what it means. Fun fact as well, he's never watched a film in his life. Apparently.
Yeah,
that's what he reckons.
He's watched like 10 films.
Yeah,
he reckons. So. But I'm sorry.
It may as well be none.
Next episode, make sure the website you use is updated, Nath, right, with those old facts. So the last name to be mentioned on anyone's list, Luis Suarez.
Oh.
Honourable mention for me.
Yeah.
How many people did that? Because I know I put him on my list. Did anyone else? I put him at number 10, and I did it purely as just one season performance. Because I remember I like Luis Suarez now after like Barcelona, but I just hated him back then. But like the goals he was scoring, and like some of the almost goals he scored as well. I remember like that volley where it hits a post from outside the box for Liverpool. He was just unbelievable. Like one of the best seasons I've ever seen. I think he got like 35 goals or something like that in the Prem.
Crazy.
Imagine that Suarez in like Klopp's side now with Mane, Salah, and that would be disgusting. Like so happy.
Yeah, I
give my left arm for it. I give my left arm for him to be in this squad at the moment. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit of a shame because obviously he went for free now, didn't he, to Atletico? It would be nice if we could have brought him back. That would have been decent. A nice end to his career back at the club that pretty much made him. No, he was at Ajax and stuff like that beforehand, but I think he got his, that's where he made a name for himself, is at Liverpool.
Yeah, I think if he'd done a couple more seasons, I think we probably would have been in all of our top 10s, because he did do so much in 2.5 seasons. But 2.5 seasons is maybe not long enough to warrant a top 10. But he still probably played the same amount of games that Robin van Persie did. So that is one thing to know.
What warrants a top 10 these days now?
Exactly.
All you need is a bit of bias. If you had another Liverpool fan on you, maybe you would have made it.
All right, lads. I think we've done well there. 15 players across the four of us. We could have had 40 different players, but we were very, very similar, apart from a few wild cards. I'll take my blame for Vardy. Pash can take his Andrew Cole. Nave can take Michael Owen. And Jack, do you know what? I want to rinse you for Van Persie, but you weren't the only one that picked him. So, I should have done a point system and worked out whose top 10 was closest to the final top 10. Maybe I'll have a look.
Yeah, that would be good.
Because then we can determine who the champion verdict was. But yeah, thank you, lads. That was good. Something different for the podcast. You've been listening to the Top 4 podcast. Make sure you follow us on all social media with the 4 in it. TikTok, YouTube, subscribe and all that. Spotify. Lads, until we do it again, thank you very much.